Hello, everybody. On the weekend, sporting different garb and no sunglasses, I figured I'd do this one without and just try to look at the camera rather than hide behind those sunglasses. And you get to see my very uncontact lens, light colored eyes, which have served me well in the past. Last time we talked about the fake diplomas, the fake college, the fake university system, all the fake stuff that the Hollywood stars were trying to get into through the side door, not the front door. I can help you get in the front door with the freelanceteacher.teachable.com, which is our sponsor today, actually. To use that as a segue, the freelanceteacher.teachable.com. There are classes on the Teachable platform. 2 of them are mine, soon to be more. And you can actually get in the real way. I don't have $500,000 to get into college or to get you into college, and you don't have $500,000 if you're listening to this to buy your way in. So you're going to have to get in the front door, which is actually taking these exams and doing well on them and seeing about, doing it the right way. The back door, right? Because remember, $500,000 is the side door, and that's knowing your guidance counselors and your college admissions departments and stuff like that. And the back door is the back door that will always be available no matter who gets busted or known about doing it. And that's $2.5 million or higher. And it usually means putting a plaque on a building with a name on it, or actually building the building, which is obviously going to be more than $2.5 million. And if you build a building, your son or daughter will get in and they will go in the back door, and nobody is going to complain, and everybody will stay quiet about that. So now we're down to the front door. That's us. And the back door, that's them. And that side door, thanks to your Full House lady, Aunt Becky, is probably closed. They probably ruined it for the $500,000 crowd. So Teachable, where you see me, freelance teacher, TheFreelanceTeacher.teachable.com, ACT prep, SAT, and grammar and basic literacy skills coming soon. That's the sponsor. And it actually, to be another, I can't help myself, I have to be me, another smooth segue into today's topic, which is grit, hustle, and rugged individualism. We had yesterday at Mount Vernon High School, we had career day, and it went fantastically well. And I say that because these people who are working, building businesses, working in businesses, working to build their own businesses, and have worked as employees in other people's businesses, they came to speak with us, and they did something amazing. They told us the truth. Everybody has their agenda, or trying to be an influencer, right? Whatever that means. Influence who, right? All the wealthy people in Manhattan? Yeah, okay, like they need influence. So the people here in the bad neighborhood, you got to work. You have to make it happen. You have to hustle. You have to have grit. And the 2 words, hustle and grit, aren't the words that I'm using. Those are words that these entrepreneurs, we had 4 of them. The first 2 were wonderful. Actually, all 4 of them were great. But the first 2 I have on my LinkedIn page and also on the Freelance Teacher Facebook page. They were amazing in the sense that they talked about work. They talked about years of effort. They talked about hustle. They talked about making sure that you get what you need for yourself, and how people will judge you and how you should judge them, and what not to say at interviews, and how to build, not necessarily how to build a resume, because their approach was, yes, they could stand up there and walk you through the steps as to how to build a resume. But if you're a go-getter, there's another old term, right? Go-getter. If you're a go-getter, you can find resume building information online for free all over the place. There are tons of places to find that kind of info. They talked about intangibles, the way you carry yourself, your attitude about yourself. I thought it was going to be kind of corny, but it worked. These two people had each student say something nice about themselves. And they went one at a time. And the two girls in the front that didn't want to participate. They said, "Can I come back to you?" And they said, "Okay." And they actually did. They went back to the two girls in the front row who didn't want to say anything because they were picked first. They were picked early. They actually remembered and went back and picked them. So they went one at a time down the rows and had each student say something positive about themselves. So, someone said, I'm Shania, and I'm dedicated and smart. And everybody clapped. And they said, the two presenters said to the class, "I want you to say your name. Could you please say your name and something positive about yourself?" Because it played a role in what one's attitude is. How to have what's currently called a growth mindset, one of these trendy terms that I don't mind, because that mindset and positivity and attitude goes heavily toward how you carry yourself. And that matters. Why does it matter? Because it was something else that these people talked about. And it was your attitude and how you carry yourself allows people to see you with that attitude, and they will judge you. Now, I know everybody gets all bent out of shape. "Oh, I don't judge. You shouldn't judge." And I think that's a trap. I think that's a scam, because everybody judges everybody else by the only tools they have available, which are, how are you walking, carrying yourself, sitting up straight? Things like that have been completely forgotten today. And that positive mindset, attitude, whatever you want to call it, goes into and shows externally. Meaning, if you are walking around with a confident air about yourself and you do feel that you'll be capable, it doesn't guarantee success. It doesn't make it so that you're going to be middle class level finance or higher. But what it does do is it allows people to see that that's the person you are, and that's going to separate yourself from everybody else. And the young lady who came, she runs her own firm. She does, she works with middle school students, but on the side, she's working on her business, Rockier Lane. And she said something eye-opening because you can picture this. She said, if someone comes to me and wants an internship or wants to work with me, and they come in and they're just kind of saying, I need a job. I don't know what I want to do, but I need a job, and so I came here. I need to make some money. I mean, she'll be polite with them and she'll finish the interview, and then they will never hear from her again. She said, I would prefer you come in glowing with a great attitude, and even if you said, I've been making mistakes and I haven't been working on myself and I haven't been trying or pushing my limits, and I've messed up a few places, but now I'm ready to really get moving, and I need to start somewhere, and I'm hungry, and you exude that kind of attitude, that kind of energy. She correctly said she would, and others will see that, and they'll jump on it. So the young man that came and spoke with us, and he had just opened up a restaurant in Mount Vernon, and he had done other projects and been in media and made connections at college, and understood that while he didn't like school, he was doing poorly, but to make connections in the fraternity he wanted to get into, he had to get his GPA up to a 2.5, because his GPA was a 1.9. So that takes work, and I keep harping on this because the work thing and the attitude and how you carry yourself is vital, but nobody talks about it. And I'm going to go one step further, and it's really the point of this podcast. I was at college for 6 years because I changed my major, and luckily for me, college wasn't ridiculously expensive back in the early 1990s. Otherwise, I'd have been in a lifetime of debt, and it would have been miserable. That's another topic. But I was at the University of Iowa for 6 years. It took me 6 years to finish. You can insert your own punchline if you wish. That's a lot of time. There's a lot of classes. There's a lot of credits, grades from A to F on my transcript. Yeah, F. I had a professor who was a decent literature professor. The stuff we covered, the material we covered, was memorable to this professor, Margaret Bass, and she went through the Harriet Jacobs material with us thoroughly and carefully, and we analyzed it in a way that wasn't just literature and literary analysis. She was very, very good at that, and I remember it to this day. But I also remember something that is not so positive. And she ridiculed and mocked the idea of pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And if you work hard, you can be successful. She mocked that idea as being kind of a fake American thing, and that it doesn't matter. And, that's kind of like I don't know. I don't know if she couched it as a modern day fable. It was something kind of like that it was kind of a pointless exercise to do that kind of stuff. And I remember thinking even then, back in the early 90s, and I was a very different person back then. I was your garden variety, progressive liberal college student. I'm ashamed to admit. But I remember even then thinking, well, wait a minute. If working hard and rugged individualism, and that's the term she mocked, rugged individualism, which is a staple of American history, if that is to be made fun of, how should people comport themselves? How should young people act and behave and work? Should they be lazy? Should they not work? It's just was so defeatist in the sense that, well, if rugged individualism is one of these fake American, maybe even a white thing, and we know about those oppressor types, right? That whole, the terms white supremacy and white privilege in those days, if they were used correctly. Not now, where they're used for anything I don't like, right? Anything I don't like by a college professor, college student, we're just going to call it white supremacy. Yeah, okay. Back then, it was sort of couched, if not understood, that that's what she was talking about. But it didn't make sense even to me as a 22-year-old. Like, well, if that's fake and it doesn't matter, that's so nihilistic in the sense that, well, then I'm just going to give up. Why work hard if working hard is a farce, if it doesn't matter? And it plays a role with today's victimology. Another word you're not allowed to say anymore, where everyone is an oppressed victim. If they're not well off, it's because of oppression, not because of laziness or stupidity or bad choices or anything like that. It means somebody oppressed you if you're not middle class income or higher. And there's nothing else to discuss. Nothing. So that strange idea I heard as a college student and the mocking of rugged individualism made it so that yesterday, second period and fourth period with ninth graders in Mount Vernon High School, which is one of the worst schools in Westchester in terms of numbers, it was pleasant and refreshing. And it was really nice to hear the people who came. Nicole was one of them as well, fourth period, where she gave us chapter and verse as to what's going on in the communities and what's going on at a place like Mount Vernon community and how to be intellectually and physically healthy. It was just, and the fact that you had to do it, that you had to work. And it was good to see these ancient American concepts of rugged individualism and grit and hustle out there in front of 15-year-olds by real people, because it means maybe something is changing. The progressive liberal, anti-intellectual, anti-thought, everything is emotional, nonsense and babble that's trotted out there at the universities and by Hollywood and by the mainstream media. Maybe those are coming to an end. And even if they're not as larger trends, maybe they're coming to an end in the high school educational space in the bad neighborhood. And I'll take that. Because we have people at work, and these are not bad people, but we have people at work that do nothing but promote victimology and oppression. And they play, it's race card, race, oppression, and nothing else. And those are real topics, and they need to be talked about. But they're not the only topics. And practically, in a pragmatic, practical sense, they don't do anything to put money in your pocket. Nothing. You're not going to make any dollars or any cents if that's all you're going to know. You just can't do it. There's no market for that. So my point is to scrape away the upper layer of nonsense and hot air, and to get down to, let's use another old term, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Let's go to where the rubber meets the road, right? All of these cliched things that are seen as cliches, but what got caught up in the cliche blender were real things like rugged individualism and looking at the people on the American frontier and seeing what it took to do that and live out there where nobody was, and there were enemies everywhere. Other people, the American Indians, wild animals. And as a last example in this long-winded diatribe, to show you that what I'm talking about is true, an example is the Laura Ingalls Wilder books, the Little House on the Prairie series, was just taken off some major librarian list of books. Taken off, removed. It was seen as promoting white supremacy. Okay? That's almost verbatim as to the reason why it was taken off. Those books, and it doesn't matter who reads them, those books personified the rugged individualism, hustle, effort, grit, and workload that was demanded being out in the frontier, where you didn't have anyone to catch you if you fell. If the crops didn't grow, you didn't eat. If you didn't build and dig the well appropriately, you didn't drink. If you weren't careful about the American Indians, you didn't live and you got killed. If you didn't pay attention to your dog barking, that panther that was out there would kill you and or your children. And that kind of rugged individualism and grit is a good, that's a good example of that. It's a true look at what it took to do that. And so in today's disgusting, rancid, cancerous mindset of victimology and eternal oppression, and something that I don't like or is written by somebody of the wrong color is seen as white supremacy, let's take it off the librarian's list. Well, let me tell you, the real people out there in communities like the Bronx and Mount Vernon, where I live and work, and the high schools that I go to both as a teacher and as a tutor, they read those. You can take them off all the lists you want. That attitude of work and rugged individualism and grit is alive and well. It may not be in your politically correct progressive campus, media, Hollywood sphere, but it is in the real sphere, where the real people exist, where we have to work to get into college, we have to work to get good grades, and we have to have rugged individualism, grit, entrepreneurial spirit, and hustle to start a business and to make it work. We don't get stuff handed to us proles, us regular people. So it's good to see you here again, and I'd like to welcome grit, hustle, and rugged individualism back into I apologize for it being the fake America, but it's nice to see you back, and I would like to personally welcome you back into the fold, and it's good to see you again. And I'll talk to you next time.